Okay, so let's continue our discussion. So kanina, ang first level na chinek natin is the physical part for the security. So if the desired effect is to actually damage the property, then there are a lot of operations that the attacker could do. So aside physical attack, and there are some things like visual spying, intrusion, scavenging and removal, wiretapping. So yan yung mga part ng physical na pag-atake. So the only option for the defender is to secure it physically. Okay, let's move on to the next level. The next level is the information infrastructure. So remember, pag information infrastructure, this is what we do over using a computer. It could be by the internet. So hacking is some of the parts that could be done. No? So the desired effect of the attacker is to influence the effectiveness and performance. So it could be also be the physical control on the processes. Pero this is done over the use of computer. So the attacker's operations could be, it could be impersonation, piggybacking, spoofing, network attacks, malware authorization attacks, active misuse, and denial of service attacks. So, isa sa mga meron dito is yung denial of service na ginagawa sa mga websites. So, what happens is that these websites are taken down kasi masyadong maraming gumagamit sa kanya or maraming nagre-request ng information or data sa kanya sa isang server. So, ang nangyari sa server, naka-clog up siya at hindi siya nakakapag-send ng, or sa dami ng mga request na nakukuha niya, hindi siya makapag-process ng maayos. Minsan nade-delay, naglalag. Minsan nagda-down yung site. Okay? So, ganun yung nangyayari. Parang EDSA. Pag masyadong marami, parang hindi gumagalaw. Ganun yung nangyayari dun sa server. So, the defender's operation is installing information security. Like, for example, you have antiviruses, data encryption, firewalls, no? And syempre, yung mga policies and standards in regarding how you would be able to manage your information using IT or technology. Okay, so yun yung mga pwedeng mangyari. So the first level was physical. The second was the information is infrastructure, which is the actual gadgets na ginagamit natin, computers, etc. But still there were attacks. Now the third level is the perceptual level, also called social engineering. Ang desired ng ng attacker dito is to influence the decisions and behaviors. So sabi nga, if you put in fear into the minds of your opponent, then that could be a way for you to be able to do an attack. Like for example dito, so maraming klase ng operation yung pwedeng gawin ng attacker natin. Now, ang kagustuhan lang niya is maiba yung gagawin ng defender natin do sa atake kanyang gagawin. Now, the good thing about this, if the defender will be able to be ready, kasi parang ano yan, parang terorista na nagsabing kami ay magtatanim ng bomba sa isang mall. So, ang pananaw ngayon ng mga pulis, gagawa sila ng paraan para ma-prevent yung pangyayari na yun. So magta-tight up yung security, magkakaroon ng deployment ng mga tao. So ganun din naman dito kasi kung maiisip nung may hawak ng or yung defender natin na there's a possibility of an attack, then they will do everything on their side to be able to defend what do they have, no? Kaso nga lang, it will be different kasi kung sakaling parang sa pulis kung merong bombang or bomb threat na kumakalat, then nag-iiba yung workflow nila. Imbis na nagroronda sila sa ibang lugar, sa mga mall sila nakatutok. So ganito rin naman yung nangyayari dun sa perceptual level. If the defender thinks are things to happen, then what they will do is they will spend money to be able to secure their information. They will try to create more backup kung sakasakali, no? Basta meron sila naiisip na pwedeng umatake para sa kanila. This will definitely change their view in terms of how they will be able to operate. So the perceptual level is something that is what we could call a mind game, no? Okay, so aspects of information assurance. So we have the computer security, which is the actual computer itself. No? The communications and network security, this is the transferring of data over the network. When we call it IT security, then that is the combination of both CompSec and ComSec. Okay? And then the operation security, which is focusing on how do you operate or manage the information. Okay. So quote, if you entrench yourself behind strong fortifications, you compel the enemy to seek a solution elsewhere. Principle of the easiest penetration. An attacker or any information system will use the simplest means of subverting system security. Pag sinabi nating subverting, parang ina-undermine mo yung kakayahan ng mga systems, no? So if you're an attacker, you would immediately think that there is a way to go through this. So kailangan mong isipin na meron siyang kahinaan. A recent headline in the AAS read, the biggest threat to computer security is carelessness. So tulad ng kanina sinabi natin, ikaw meron kang project na nakalagay sa flash drive mo. But ang problema natin, ikaw BSc student ka na, alam mo na kailangan mong may backup ka. Pero at some point, minsan, yung file na kailangan natin, sinisave lang natin sa iisang storage. So, wala tayong ibang backup. So, kapag nasira yung flash drive natin, wala na tayong ipapasang project. So, that is also a way for us na parang naging careless tayo dun sa pamamaraan natin ng pag-secure ng data natin, no? So, if you are a BSc student, you need to learn how to back up or to have another copy of your files, because sooner or later, if you're using it, or if you're using your flash drive to store your information or data, then there could be a chance that that will be corrupted. Okay, so as much as possible marami. Ako nga maraming kopya, may kopya sa laptop, sa PC, tapos sa Google Drive. Para nang sa ganun may iba't iba akong pwedeng pagkunan kung sakaling may masira man. Okay. Isang sample ng failure ng information assurance. In 1996, news of a possible signs of life in Martian meteorite called ALH 84001 was leaked ahead of press conference that has been scheduled by NASA. So meron silang information na gusto sana lang ilagay sa isang or i-announce sa isang conference sa isang press conference, pero ang nangyari nauna yung mga dyaryo sa kanya. Bakit? Kasi this was partly because of a high-ranking White House official told a prostitute about the meteorite, who then sold the information to a tabloid. So ibig sabihin, nasabi ng isang personnel sa isang hindi niya personally kilalang babae, na sinabi ng babae sa isang tabloid para maibenta, knowing na yung babae alam niya na high-ranking official yung kanyang kasama, no? Now this could be means of uh, a loss of information assurance, because what happened is the information leaked. So NASA had to scramble and to reschedule its press conference on earlier day, kasi nung nalaman nila na para bang meron ng ingay na ginagawa yung information na yon, kailangan lang i-schedule ng mas maaga kaysa dun sa i-schedule nila ng late. So ang tanong doon, sir, ba't kailangan pa lang i-schedule ng late? Because they need to provide accurate information. Because hearsays such as in a tabloid could always post na para bang chismis lang siya, no? Para bang pwede niya sabihin na may agam-agam o merong mga bali-balita. Pwede kasing sabihin ng ganun sa tabloid pero hindi direct na sinasabi na merong ganun. Kasi that could be fake news, di ba? So pwede mong sabihin, siguro merong ganito ganyan, siguro may usap-usapan, may mga narinig, may mga kumakalat na ganitong balita, pero hindi mo directly sinasabing totoo. Pwede kasi yung ganun. Okay. There's something that we call as information warfare. When the use of information is being used for the intent to harm others, no? Pwede natin gamitin yung information. So yung pwede ito yung kunyari blackmail. May alam ka tungkol sa isang tao na alam mong ayaw ng tao na yon na ilabas mo yung information na nalaman mo, then that could be blackmail. That's information warfare. Pero it could only be a warfare if the other person attacks you. 'Di ba? So, ibig sabihin, ang ginawa niya, bumalik siya para nang sa ganon ay kumuha rin siya ng information mula sa'yo para ibalik sa'yo yung ginagawa mo. Okay? Because in a war, there are two parties usually. So pwedeng yung isa offensive, yung isa defensive. So it could go both ways. Pwedeng parehas naman sila umaatake, di ba? So yung nakikita naman natin sa gobyerno ngayon, as you can see, there's a lot of things happening, or there are lots of hearings about a lot of issues. Minsan yung mga information doon, minsan parang hindi ka na makapaniwala na alam niya yung ganito ganyan. Like parang si Matubato, ang information niya, alam niya na si Duterte ay isang para bang nag-uutos na magpapatay ng tao dun sa lugar nila. Now, na that could not be confirmed because there's a lot of information about Matubato that is really confusing about what it is that he is saying. So that could also be a source of information, or that could be also called as an information warfare. Kung ano yung alam mo, bigay mo, gamitin mo para dun sa kalaban. Okay. So, types of information warfare. Type number 1, it involves the managing an opponent's perception. Type number 2, it involves destroying the information. And type number 3, it is the exploitation of the information that you got. Okay? So, sa type number 1, there is something that we call as a truth projection. Okay? So, dito, perception yung ginagamit natin. So, if you could actually strike fear into your opponent in a actual military war, then that could be really something. Psychological kasi. So, para bang yung nangyari na pambobomba ng Amerika, pagpatay nila sa isang general sa Middle East, tapos yung Middle Eastern country na yon nag-strike back sa kanila kasi hindi pwede na hindi. Dahil ba ang iisipin ng mga tao doon sa kanila. So, ang kumalat na balita, maraming patay doon sa American side, pero ang Amerika, ang sinasabi nila, wala ni isang namatay, lahat ng sundalo nila safe. Now, no one could really knew the truth. Kasi may kanya-kanya silang information na nilalabas. May mga videos na pinapakitang may mga nilalabas na patay na sundalo, yung iba naman may pinapakitang video na nasa bunker lang sila, wala talagang namamatay sa kanila. So, it could actually be used. This is for the perception. Okay? So, the type 1 is for perception. Number 2 is actually destroying the actual information. No? This is used to be able to the ability to carry out coordinate operations. So, ang Al-Qaeda dati, ang ginagawa nila, tinatago nila yung information nila sa isang picture. So, ang ginagawa nila, ito yung text, ito yung picture, pinagsasama nila, tapos sinesave nila as picture na kahit pag dinouble click mo, hindi mo makikita yung mga information na nakalagay sa kanya. Pwede kasi yung ganun. Okay, nagagawa yung ganun kahit CMD lang yung gamitin mo. Type 3, it gathers intelligence by exploiting the opponent's use of information system. So, you could actually be able to hack information from the use of technology, and this could be a type 3 information warfare. So, more on hacking yung properties niya. So, necessary for information warfare as for any related activity are the motive, means, and opportunity. So, you need to find a motive on what it is that you heard, or what is your reason, and your means. Ano nga ba yung mga kakayahan mo? Ano ba yung meron ka? And then the opportunity, when will you be able to attack? Sino yung mga players sa information warfare? Number 1 could be the insiders, employees. Pwede silang mag-leak ng information about their company. It is forbidden kasi nakakontrata yan, bawal yan, pero minsan sila din ang gumagawa ng paraan. Like for example sa ABS-CBN, 'di ba, yung cameraman na hindi na sahuran ng tama, hindi sila ng regular, para silang yung insider. May information silang alam na binabanggit nila ngayon sa social media. Hackers, sama sila sa information warfare. They are the ones who are illegally gaining informations about the these people na minsan ginagamit nila depende sa kanila, sa kagustuhan nila. It could be malicious or it could be for profit or it could be just for their thrill of their skill. Then we also have the criminals. Target information that may be value of them are bank accounts, credit card information, and intellectual property. Ito yung mga mahilig mang scam. O kaya, let's say mga poser na kung saan gumagamit sila ng pangalan at picture sa Facebook para nang sa ganon makakuha sila ng information sa ibang tao. No? And then we also have corporations. Corporations, what they do is they get the information or informations about their opponents in businesses. Government agencies seeks a lot of information, not just for the gain of military power, pero marami ang sakop ng government. So the government could seek military, diplomatic, and economic secrets of foreign governments, such as, di ba yung dati, yung war against Iraq, nagkaroon ng information warfare doon. Kasi ang sabi ni Saddam, meron daw silang nuclear warheads. Pero nung sinugod sila ng Amerika, wala ni isang nakita. Ang ginawa na doon parang perceptual. Sinubukan niya yung lakas ng Amerika, and in the long run na siya ay nahuli, no? And then siya ay namatay, pero ang katotohanan wala palang nuclear warhead ang Iraq. Puro lang siya oil. Terrorist, usually politically motivated. Ngayon minsan yung terrorists, they're using a lot of reasons why they would want to actually do damage. And sa ngayon, they are been doing not just the perceptual but also their capability on recruiting over social media, posting a lot of videos on how did they do things, what are they doing, what are the reasons. So maraming ginagamit ang terrorists in terms of information warfare. Meron nga tayong tinatawag na propaganda, 'di ba? In a propagandist way, tulad nung propagandist ni Hitler, if you tell a lie so many times, it can become the truth. So isa 'yan sa quote nung nakalimutan ko na yung pangalan ng propagandist ni Hitler. Pero siya, sa sobrang galing niya, napapayag niya yung mga people ng Germany to go ahead with the plans of Hitler. Na kahit nakita naman natin na maraming ginagawang uh, uh, problems o kasamaan yung si Hitler, still the people in Germany is actually going with his way of things kasi napakagaling ng propagandist niya. Okay, so why do they do it? While experts may disagree on the definition of cyber war, there's a significant evidence that nations around the world are developing, testing, and in some cases using or encouraging cyber means as a method of obtaining political advantage, according to McAfee, Virtual Criminology Report on 2009. So, it is somewhat a way for people or governments to actually have an advantage. Kaya ginagawa nila to. So, 'di ba si Trump, binan niya yung Huawei. Kasi daw yung Huawei kumukuha ng information sa mga Amerikano. Kaya ang ginawa niya, binan niya yung Huawei, no? Aside from meron na talagang kaso yung Huawei before, isa yun sa mga reason kung bakit niya ayaw na paggamitin ng Chinese telephone yung mga Amerikano. A possible worst-case worm could cause 50 billion or more direct economic damage by attacking widely used services in Microsoft Windows and carrying a highly destructive payload. Something that no one expected was the I Love You virus, which caused a lot of millions in damage and also was able to penetrate the Pentagon, destroying files dahil dun sa virus na yon. So, you could imagine what will be the effect if someone actually do an attack cyber in the cyber world, kasi marami ng information ang nakalagay sa internet sa ngayon or kumakalat sa internet. Okay, IA functions. The functions of IA is, number one, it is for the protection of the information. Number two, it should be able to attack or to detect the attack of the opponent, no, or the attacker. So you should be able to have, number one, a security for not just for the physical, but for also for the technological part. The second is for to detect the attack that may happen. So kaya natin nagkakaroon tayo ng information assurance, no? So remember, IA is both proactive and reactive. So immediately it should sprung in action kapag nangyari yung mga ganito. And the capability to restoration. So tulad nga na nabasa ko dun sa mga comments ninyo, there's a lot of expectations that we will be studying hacking. But remember, information and security and assurance, we will be tackling about the ways of or how do these hackers attack. But we will not generally study hacking. No, ibang topic na po 'iyon. So ang sa atin dito is to identify what are the attacks, how we could prevent them, and syempre, we could be able to restore. Pag sinabi natin restoration, we will be getting back the information or we will have the physical part restored. Kasi hindi lang naman cyber attack ang pwedeng meron. Pwedeng physical attack din. So pag nasunog yung building, karoon ng baha, tornadoes, etc. Dapat may mga plano tayo doon at yun yung of information assurance. So we will be more on planning technically. So ibig sabihin, magpaplano tayo kung ano yung pwede natin gawin para ma-prevent natin yung loss of information. And the immediate response from attack. So aside from detection, then you could have an immediate response. So ang minsan kasi, ang naiisip lang ng tao is prevention. Pero paano kapag nangyari na? So ano yung gagawin mo? So you need to have a plan. So for example, let's say, sa isang lugar, sa isang building, may plano sila para hindi magkaroon ng sunog. Naglagay sila ng mga iba't ibang tools to be able to prevent fire from happening. But nung nangyari na yung sunog, hindi nila alam kung anong gagawin. They were not able to plan their exits, but they had the tools to stop the fire. But getting themselves out of the building was not the priority before. So that could be a problem. So remember, the response is different from the detection. If you detected it, then you could do something to have it prevented. But when it is already happening, then that's a different thing. So kung kunyari tayo, nagpa-practice tayo lagi ng mga fire drill, minsan binibiro-biro lang natin, lalagay lang natin yung ulo natin sa yung ating mga kamay dito sa ulo natin, then we try to duck, pero hindi naman talaga natin ginagawa. Pero pag nangyari na, iba na yung magiging scenario. There will be a lot of people crying, there are a lot of people moving, shouting, no? So iba yung scenario na makikita natin kung sakasakaling totoo siyang mangyari. So we need to be ready for that. So the response of the institution or the response of the company will be very vital to be able to have this controlled. So yun kasi yung una mong gagawin dyan eh. Kailangan makontrol mo yung situation. Kapag medyo panicking yung dating, baka mamaya mas lalong lumala yung sitwasyon. So you need to control the situation as much as possible. Just like what we had here on the Philippines. So immediately nagkaroon tayo ng mga infections sa COVID. So hindi nag-respond kaagad yung presidente na i-shutdown yung mga airlines. Ang nangyari, may mga pumapasok pa rin. Was that really the plan of the president? Bakit hindi niya shutdown? Kasi kung shutdown niya, hindi walang makakapasok, 'di ba? So there's a lot of things that you could actually be able to do to be able to solve these problems that information assurance will need to tend to. So kailangan sagutin ng information assurance to. So tandaan, meron tayong attack, response, restoration, the protection and detection. Okay? So yun yung mga bagay na ginagawa ng information assurance para sa atin. Okay? So I guess that ends our discussion for today. Sige po.